known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers best bet or daily package for only $2.
So am I.
Seat warmer. Welcome in, guys, and a very happy Tuesday to you here. January the 11th, 2022. We got 43 games in college basketball on the card tonight. We are going to break up some of the we're going to break down, rather, some of those top 25 matchups. And we're going to do it here today with three of the finest, including our good friend John Ryan in the house from SportsMemo.com. He's joining us up at the top. Steve Merrill, right from the seats of William and Mary in the third row. He is here tonight. And, of course, Dave Koken, and he's repping William and Mary. Of course, he is. Dave Koken in the house here. Gentlemen, happy Tuesday. Happy New Year, John Ryan. Welcome in. And, of course, again, guys, John Ryan over at SportsMemo.com. Make sure you visit him there and talk to us here tonight, John. What do you got on the card? What are you locked and loaded with over at SportsMemo.com?
I'm going to have some NBA up shortly. I'll probably post that right after the show is over. Coming off a big win last night with Georgia as a 5%er, and had an interesting prop bet of Georgia minus 10.5 and over 50.5, and got fortunate enough to win that, and that was plus 750. So I'm feeling pretty good today.
Well, listen, with 5% wins, you should always feel pretty good about it here. So plenty of opportunities here tonight across the sports landscape. And Steve Merrill, I know you're ready. NBA, college basketball, NFL playoffs. What do you got ready to go there over at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, I mean, John and I love our numbers. We do the financial talk, we do the sports talk. So I made a 2-for-1 special just for John, so he could tell Rob Vino about it when they talk later. Normally $25 each. I put both best bets up for $29 combined. It's one college, one pro. I also had Georgia last night. Never in doubt, right? It was a good game to watch. It was actually an exciting game. That was one of the most public underdogs of the season in college football. The other one that was more public was Michigan last week. So public got burnt fading Georgia down the stretch the last couple of weeks. So the Bulldogs got it done. Had a rare miss in basketball, and even with that miss, Joe, still 53-36 this season, 94-62 the past 8 months or so in college and pro hoops. Number one overall college basketball the last 2 years at WagerTalk.com. So football is winding down, but basketball is heating up. I've got two best bets tonight. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, good stuff there. And Dave, I know you've got a best bet in hoops tonight as well, ready to go over at WagerTalk.com. NFL playoffs, of course, around the corner, as well as the NHL back on ice. What else is going on?
Well, I went to get the beard trimmed this morning. I do that once a week because I have trouble doing it myself. I mess it up. And they had a new Kona blend, a blend of coffee at the shop, and it was really good.
Kona, tough to get, by the way.
I don't have any gambling highlights to give you. So
Kona's good. I love Kona.
It's really
hard to get. It's not easy to get in it. It's a fortune too. So love our coffee, that is for sure. And I
don't have any. I didn't have any gambling highlights to give you because the only thing I did yesterday was the Capitals, and they blew a 2-0 lead and lost by like 60. So I figured I'd talk about the coffee.
Boom. All right, guys. Bottom line here is plenty of action tonight, certainly in college hoops, NHL, NBA. We're going to start with how about a little version of the Iron Bowl on the hard court, huh? Auburn taking on Alabama here. Alabama opens as a short favorite there with a total of 156. I see it up to 3 in some spots as well. 9 o'clock Eastern time tip here. Talk to us here as the 4th-ranked Auburn Tigers taking on the 24th-ranked Crimson Tide. John Ryan, tell us, what do you think about this game?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. This is a lot of fun to be part of this great team. And this game here is one I started eyeing up last Friday already, and that was coming off before the Auburn's last win on their Saturday performance. But the Auburn Tigers are 4th ranked, and I think they're a legitimate 4th ranked team in the country. And there's really no other team in the country right now that is hotter, at least out of the SEC conference, than they are. And of course, Bruce Pearl's an awesome coach, and he has them playing extraordinarily well at both ends of the court. This is a matchup of similar teams, too. Auburn and Alabama like to get up and down the court. Auburn ranks 27th, averaging 64 shots a game. Alabama 21 rank, averaging 64.5 shots per game. Field goal percentages are very close, but the edge here is the three-point shooting by the Tigers, and they are shooting it much, much better from beyond the arc. Not in an elite level, but much, much better than Alabama. And Alabama likes to get their points in the paint. But I think Auburn right now is a team that should not be an underdog. And I definitely like the +3 with the Auburn Tigers in this matchup to win outright.
Yeah, they are rolling here, Steve Merrill. Nothing else you can say. They are playing great. The bench is producing for Auburn, but they are going to Tuscaloosa, and they've had some success there, Alabama. What do you think we're going to see tonight?
Yeah, definitely the toughest test of the season for Auburn here, and it's a situation also where they'll be a road dog for the first time. You know, they've only had a handful of road games this season, and the most recent one was a couple games back at South Carolina. They were an 8.5-point favorite, won by 15. Have to go all the way back to mid-December, almost a month ago, when they were at St. Louis, won by 4 as a 5.5-point favorite. So this is a big step up in class. One thing I was thinking about last night as I was watching the Georgia-Alabama football game was that, you know, would that loss affect the basketball team? I know it sounds kind of silly. They shouldn't be correlated, but you wonder, you know, how invested the Alabama basketball program was in watching that game. Do they feel a little deflated this morning? I doubt it. I'm not using that as a handicapping factor, but it's just something that did cross my mind as I was watching Alabama rather, blow the fourth quarter lead last night. With that said, though, John touched upon the tempo and pace. It's obviously something I look at and when I'm handicapping college basketball very closely. And both of these two teams do like to play fast. They're two of the best offensive teams in the nation. Actually, I rate Alabama the better offense. I do rate Auburn as the better defense in this game. But I think Bama at home will definitely play fast. I think Auburn is glad to play that way as well. And these are two teams that can routinely get in the 80-point range. I'm not sure that's going to happen tonight, but I think it will. And, you know, I think if we get to about the high 70s, low 80s, we obviously get over this total, which is currently 156. And I'll call for Alabama to get to the 80s. I think Auburn gets pretty close as well. I think over the total is worth a look.
It didn't take the market long, Dave. It opened up at 1.5. It went to 3 rather quickly here. Do you agree with the move?
The thing I do best in college basketball, and I can't explain this. It's very difficult to explain it, but I have a great feel, and I'm not saying this to be boastful, but I have a real good feel for what the odds makers and the market are doing, and using that as what I believe are indicators. Doesn't mean they always win, but this is a game. The opening line comes out 1.5, which I think was a good number. And there's no question in my mind that Auburn is the more public side here. Because they're better than Alabama. There's nothing wrong with Alabama, they're a good team. But Auburn's a top 5 team. And yet the market that matters, which is the market that moves the number, they're on Alabama. The odds makers at this point, they're saying, you want Auburn? We'll give you 3. We want you, Ronnie. You can call it 40 years of instincts or 50 years of instincts, if I'm being more accurate. But this is where I look at my instincts and weigh them more heavily than the data. The data says Auburn. The market feel, if you want to call it that, says Alabama. I'll trust the market. I like Alabama minus the 3.
All right, good stuff there, guys. Tonight, 9 o'clock, should be a good one in the SEC. And we'll head over to the Big 12, game number 2 here to take a look at today. And how about it? Number 1, the champs, Baylor, 15-0, taking on Texas Tech, the Red Raiders here in the Big 12 Conference. This will be, I believe, in Waco. And talk to us here, Steve Merrill, about this matchup here. Number 1, taking on Texas Tech. Do they have enough to take down the Baylor Bears?
I mean, Baylor's a very balanced team. There's only a couple teams, I think, in the nation right now that are top 10, both offense and defensive efficiency. Once again, like last year and several years, it's been Baylor. Another team, I believe, is Houston recently, last time I checked. So Baylor's a very good team at both ends of the court. They played a modest tempo. They actually play a little bit faster than they have in years past. Texas Tech, of course, used to play very slow. That's always been their calling card. They still do so even now. I don't think they're quite as good as doing as they were in that Final Four run a few years ago. But their half-court defense is very, very strong, as good as Baylor's. Baylor holds a substantial edge offensively. So obviously Texas Tech wants a slower half-court game. I think that favors the under here. I think the Bears will be glad to play that well as also. So you got two top 10, two of the best defensive teams in the country, and a modest total around 135. So I think that favors the under here. And if it is a slow-down half-court game, that's when a double-digit dog plus 12 like Texas Tech could stay within the numbers. So I'd lean underdog, but I'd lean under as well.
They've been battling some COVID issues and injuries, Texas Tech, Dave. 7 players against Iowa State. That was hard to watch. They got 8 back against Kansas. Now they got to take on Baylor. What do you think about this Texas Tech's chances tonight?
I'm so aggravated with myself because I like Texas Tech against Kansas. And it's like, I don't know who's going to be playing because they were down to 7, as you mentioned, against the Cyclones, and they hung in that game. But, I mean, it was a grind. And it's like, do they have enough players to stay on the court with Kansas for 40 minutes? Well, obviously they did. They won the game. But I still don't know what their lineup's going to look like. And Baylor's a monster. I can't lay that many against Tech because I know what they're going to do. They're going to try and snail the game. And 12 is a lot to cover. But I don't want Texas Tech in this spot. So the side I would have to prefer is Baylor. I agree with Steve because I think that for Texas Tech to stay in this game, they got to keep it low scoring. So if you like Baylor, you might want let me put it this way. If Baylor gets there, probably means that they push the tempo to the point where it gets over the total. And you might be able to do a little correlation job there with Baylor in the over. That's the only thing I can recommend in the game because I really don't know what the Red Raiders lineup is going to look like. And that was a great effort against Kansas in the victory on Saturday. Going on the road against a team like Baylor, it's a tough spot for the Red Raiders.
Still don't see anything on Shannon Jr. or McCullough at this point for Texas Tech. So keep an eye on that there, guys. But some people thought that maybe TCU might give Baylor all they can handle. And they did for a while in that last game there, John Ryan. But ultimately, too good, too big, too fast. Baylor Bears. Yeah, are you willing to lay double digits here tonight, though?
Well, I'm leaning towards the under, like with Steve Merrill. And I know that's probably not good that we're both on the same side, Steve, with all due respect. But the under seems to be the right play here. The Texas Tech game, the win over Kansas, I think you can read too much into that because Kansas is a team that is not your typical Kansas team as perennial Jayhawk teams have been. They have problems in the post. In that game, I believe they had a total of 6 rebounds and 4 points from their big guys. And that's not going to get it done in the Big 12 or any other conference. Even in the conference that William & Mary is in, you can't win games getting 4 to 6 rebounds and 4 points from your big guys. So Bill Self had actually talked about that in the press conference that I recall. Lightfoot and McCormick were the ones that combined for the 4 points. So Texas Tech caught them at the right time, I guess. And Texas Tech had a lot more energy in the game than Kansas did. Whether that translates to this game against Baylor, I mean, that's a reach. I just don't see Texas Tech being able to go on the road in Waco and take on the number 1 team in the land that also in that TCU win, they were trailing in the second half. Mm-hmm. They held them scoreless for 5 full minutes and ripped off, I think it was a 17-0 run or 15-0 run. And when you see that, you immediately think like, okay, well, I'll gladly lay double digits with Baylor. But maybe Baylor doesn't bring that intensity to this game. Or maybe it was a slap in the face that they were trailing in the second half before winning. And that was a horrible, bad beat, too. If you had TCU in that game plus 10 and Baylor wins by 12 after you were leading the game outright, that's a bad beat. But I like the under more in this game, and I think it's to Baylor's advantage to use that suffocating defense that they have, and the under, I think, should go under by quite a bit.
Appreciate you reminding me I lost that bet over the weekend, John Ryan. That's great of you, really. We'll move on.
Sorry about
Big
that.
12 matchup. Let's take a look. Iowa State taking on Kansas. Another double-digit game here. -12 Kansas laying there, up a little bit from about 11 and a half, 141 and a half as an opening total. 8 o'clock here, Dave. Another double-digit favorite here in the Big 12. You like Kansas better in this spot?
Yeah, I think I do. And I could be dead wrong on this, but I think Iowa State, they might be the most overachieving team in the country so far this year. TJ's done a great job there. I wish he'd have done that well at UNLV. But he's gotten the max out of this team. And look, the loss to Oklahoma wasn't that bad on Saturday. They were ahead in that game, and Oklahoma hit them with a big run at the end of the game. So it's kind of a misleading final. They're gritty and really determined. But I don't think they're that good. And I think reality is, maybe a top 50 team, but they're not top 10 or anything like that. And Kansas is. I mean, look, Kansas isn't perfect. And they've gotten some inconsistent play out of their big guys. But, man, I got to tell you something. I got to figure the practices the last couple of days a little bit intense coming out of that Texas Tech game. And I think Kansas shows up with a nasty mindset tonight. Could be another game where Iowa State hangs in and gets drilled late. I think that's got a good chance to happen here. I prefer Kansas. It's a lot of points. I'm not going to lay it, but that's the only way I'd play it. And I am seeing some respected opinions on Iowa State, but I got to side with Kansas in this one, guys.
So that game against Oklahoma, John Ryan, for Iowa, that was the first road game they had in over a month. Now they're back on the road again. 22 straight conference road losses for Iowa State, heading into a pissed-off Kansas team here. Are you laying the double digits, or are you looking at the total?
I'm laying the double digits with this. As I mentioned in the previous game, the bounce-back factor for Kansas is pretty big here, in my opinion. They have a much more favorable matchup in the paint with their post positions and their bigger guys. So I think you'll see Bill Self, focus to get as many points in the paint as possible and just take Iowa State right out of the game early. I also like the over in this game too, and this comes from my Steve Merrill calls them my predictive models. So there is a high probability that, for example, Iowa State is going to shoot between 40 and 46%. And the over, when they have done that in past games, is 72 and 32 to the over. When Iowa State allows more than 75 points, which is a high probability according to the models to occur tonight, the over is 77 and 26. So those are pretty strong numbers to the over, and I do think that the over makes sense with Kansas looking to bounce back on the offensive end with a big effort tonight.
Yep. 44-18, Kansas was outscored in the paint here, Steve Merrill. I don't know. That's going to happen again here tonight at home with Iowa State. Are you laying the double digits?
Yes, it's a clean sweep. I like Kansas here as well, and I agree with what John just said. I think Kansas and the over are definitely correlated. This reminds me a little bit of the earlier game we talked about in the Baylor-Texas Tech game. Once again, Iowa State plays slow, half-court, good defensive basketball, but Kansas holds a substantial offensive edge in this game. My only concern, what kept this off my best bet card, is the fact that Iowa State does play slow, and they're a double-digit dog here. But I think home teams normally dictate tempo and pace more than the road teams, so it's a little less of a concern here. And I also like the fact that Kansas just played and lost to a slower Texas Tech team who does it even slower than Iowa State, more half-court defense. So I think Kansas was in a bad situation on the road against that type of team on Saturday. I think they'll be much more comfortable back at home. It'll be the second game in 4 days against the same style of play. So I think this is a good setup for Kansas to bounce back off a loss. We get a Class A team at home off a loss, and we get them in a more comfortable situation. And Iowa State, very good defensively, but nowhere close to the level of Kansas offensively. But so I like the Jayhawks here laying the double digits, and I would agree with John with the over as well. as I think if Kansas wins and covers the double digits, the game probably gets over the total also.
All right, good stuff there. Love it. And 3 big matchups here tonight. 2 in the Big 12, 1 in the SEC. But like we told you, over 40 games on the card here tonight. So let's go around the horn and check with these guys to see if they have one game they like a little bit more than the others. So, John Ryan, kick us off here. Is there one game you got circled here tonight on the card that you like just a little bit more than the others?
It's definitely Kansas. And I'm half tempted. I hate parlays, but I'm half tempted to try a parlay with Kansas and the over. And I like to do in-game betting quite a bit. For example, I was smart enough to take pizza money when San Francisco was down 17-0. I got very lucky. You know, those things happen. But in a game like this where you have a double-digit favorite, I like the strategy where you bet Kansas now 50% of your normal bet size. I call it pre-flop. And then look to get Kansas in the first half only. You don't want to bet in-game in the second half because you run out of time. You have to be almost instantly right. But if Kansas would get down into that 6.5, 7.5 point area, that would be a place to add another 25%. And then if you see Kansas even at 4.5, that would be the 25% to complete your bet. So with these double-digit favorites, they can at times start out slow, and then they get it together, and then they roll. So I actually like that strategy for this game.
All right, good stuff there, John. And guys, don't forget John Ryan over at sportsmemo.com. You can check him out there. And Steve Merrill, talk to me, man. Which one of these games are you looking at here tonight?
Yeah, going to give you a free college basketball game here for Tuesday night. Game of those just a bit outside for making the best bet cut. I do have 2 strong best bets tonight, one in college, one in pro. I made a 2-for-1 combo special. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Number 1 in college basketball the past 2 years combined at WagerTalk. College and pro, 53 and 36 this year. And we got 2 best bets tonight for Tuesday. It's a 2-for-1 special Tuesday night. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Some might call it 2 for Tuesday. Let's look at a game that was just a bit outside, but I do like this play still, and it's West Virginia -3. Goes at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight on Tuesday. Joe Raineri's Oklahoma Sooners, Oklahoma Cowboys. Oh, God, I can't believe I just said that. That wasn't intentional. I know. I'm sorry. God, I'm lucky I'm still in the air right now. I'm lucky I'm still in the air as we speak. Oklahoma State, not a good shooting team, as Joe knows, though. I mean, 29% from three-point range overall this year. Road games have been a little worse, 18.5%. Rob Vino and Tony Fink could take granny shots from 3 and hit better than 18.5%. John Ryan knows he's seen this happen before. But a really bad shooting team on the road is not what I want to back. I like West Virginia here, laying the short number at home. Oklahoma State's gotten their ball handling back, just 11 and 9 turnovers the past 2 games. But before that, they had 18 turnovers in 2 of their 3 prior games. They have had turnover problems this year, and West Virginia can force steals. They can force pressure. They can force havoc at home, laying the short number. Better team, focus spot with the pressure defense. I like West Virginia -3. Goes at 9 o'clock Eastern Tuesday night on ESPN. The Deuce.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Hope you had Oklahoma State against Texas too. All right, Dave, talk to me here. What do you think? What do you think tonight? Where's the game you're leaning towards the most?
I like Kansas, and I also like Alabama for the reasons I explained earlier. I think the market is dictating the right side in this game, and I'm going to go with Alabama -3 for the best bet here in the show. You might want to wait around on this one. It is possible you might get a 2.5 later on, because I do think there'll be some late money showing on the dog. I don't think it's going above 3, but I'll use the Crimson Tide to do better in basketball tonight than they did in football last night, and to get the win and cover against their arch rivals from Auburn.
All right, they've been really good at home. Alabama, Auburn here tonight. And our friends from the Gold Sheet, they've got a best bet up as well, and they're going to take a look at San Jose State taking on Fresno State, getting double digits, I believe, last I had seen there. And, of course, it looks like 14 now in a lot of spots in the marketplace. This full write-up, guys, you can check it out by visiting us over at the Wager Talk Twitter page. All these Gold Sheet plays of the day, we always post them as soon as we're done here. Great write-ups. Make sure you visit goldsheet.com. Also, check them out, guys. Great handicapping tools. And, of course, great write-ups available on all the games across all the sports. Good stuff over at the goldsheet.com. I'm going to head out west. It's 5 p.m. Eastern time tip here, guys. And I can't think of a team I'd rather play less, having not played since December 23rd. Stanford will be playing USC, and I don't know how this gets to 139.5 points. Not the defense I would want to run into if I was Stanford here for my first game back. So I'm going to look at the under tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern time, with Stanford and USC. And our best bet recap once again, I do want to give a shout out, of course, to our fearless producer, Robert. His Texas Southern team last night whooped them up 18.5 points. Big win there. Congrats. John Ryan over at sportsmemo.com. He's looking at Kansas, laying the 12.5 here tonight. Steve Merrill is going against my Oklahoma State Cowboys. He's taking West Virginia -3 against those Cowboys here tonight. Dave likes Kansas, but he also likes Alabama at home. But hold off, guys. Might just reach 2.5 before long once the public gets involved. I'm looking at the under USC Stanford here today, and our friends at the Gold Sheet say take those 14 points. San Jose State taking on Fresno State here in the 10 p.m. Eastern time tip. Don't forget, guys, you can visit both Steve Merrill and Dave Kogan over at WagerTalk.com. Their best bets are locked and loaded. Dave's got a best bet tonight in hoops that you can go grab right now. Steve Merrill also ready to go. And John Ryan, always a pleasure to see you here, John. Thanks for taking the time to hang with us. You guys can visit him and his shows. In fact, he does a lot of great content over at sportsmemo.com. Make sure you check it out. Visit sportsmemo.com. Make sure you check out John Ryan's page. And on behalf of all three of these gentlemen, appreciate the time, guys. Hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Come back, join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. In the meantime, best of luck with your plays. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.